"Stop right there! Sit down and know your place!" The furious yell echoed across the first-class cabin, and before anyone could process what happened, a sharp slap landed on the face of a man who wasn't just any passenger. He was a billionaire CEO, a man whose influence stretched from Wall Street to Silicon Valley, a man accustomed to respect, not humiliation. But in that moment, before cameras and shocked passengers, he was reduced to a target of arrogance and prejudice. This isn't just a flight story. This is the kind of story that will shake you, anger you, and inspire you. And before we dive in, make sure you hit subscribe right now so you never miss stories of dignity, justice, and power turning tables on arrogance. Because today, you're about to witness how one call, just one phone call, stopped an entire plane. His name was Christopher Daniels, a self-made black billionaire who built his empire from scratch. Born in a small town with nothing but determination and a relentless belief that he was destined for greatness, Christopher rose through the impossible. From sleeping in his car during his early years to becoming CEO of one of America's most powerful investment firms, his story was legendary. On this day, dressed in his signature dark tailored suit, polished shoes, and gold cufflinks engraved with his initials, he was simply another passenger boarding a first-class flight. Calm, composed, carrying only his leather briefcase, Christopher represented quiet authority. But what he didn't know was that arrogance and racism were waiting for him at 30,000 feet. The air inside the first-class cabin buzzed with the usual mix of entitlement and luxury: plush leather seats, champagne flutes sparkling under soft lights, passengers scrolling through phones and newspapers. Christopher settled into his seat, nodding politely to the attendant as he adjusted his cufflinks. But from the moment he sat down, he noticed something off. The flight attendant, a woman in a crisp navy blue uniform, her hair pulled into a tight bun, seemed to watch him with disdain. When another passenger asked for water, she smiled warmly. When Christopher politely requested the same, her smile vanished, replaced with a curt nod, as if she were doing him a burden instead of her job. Christopher, used to subtle racism in boardrooms and corporate dinners, ignored it, but the tension was building. The breaking point came minutes before takeoff. Another white passenger had accidentally placed their bag in Christopher's overhead compartment. Christopher, calm and respectful, simply lifted the bag and passed it back, making room for his own. The flight attendant stormed down the aisle. "Don't touch that bag!" she shouted, startling everyone. Passengers froze, eyes turning. Christopher raised his hand slightly. He tried to explain, but before a word could escape his lips, smack! The sound of the slap ripped through the cabin. His head turned slightly with the force, his cheek stinging, but his eyes, calm, steady, unbroken, locked on hers. The cabin gasped. Phones came out. Passengers whispered, shocked that a uniformed attendant had just struck a man in first class. But she didn't see a billionaire. She didn't see power. In her mind, she saw someone she thought she could humiliate. Christopher slowly reached into his pocket. Not a word, no yelling, just precision. He pulled out his phone, scrolled, and pressed a single button. The line clicked. "Ground control, yes. This is Christopher Daniels. I need this plane stopped immediately." Every passenger froze. The attendant's face drained of color, because in that moment she realized who he was. Not just another passenger, but a man who owned private jets, who had contracts with major airlines, whose investments influenced the very fuel in the wings of the aircraft she worked on. Within minutes, as the plane prepared to taxi, the captain's voice trembled over the intercom. "Ladies and gentlemen, we've been instructed to hold position." Christopher sat still, eyes forward, power radiating in silence. One call had stopped a plane full of passengers. Security stormed the cabin. The passengers, still whispering, recording, and posting online, watched history unfold. The attendant, now shaking, tried to stammer an excuse, but the cameras caught it all. The slap, the arrogance, the humiliation. Christopher didn't need to speak. His reputation spoke for him. The head of airline security entered, bowing slightly in respect. They escorted the attendant off the plane, her career ending before the wheels ever left the ground. But the most powerful moment wasn't her removal. It was Christopher's composure. He didn't yell. He didn't strike back. He didn't need to. He showed the world that dignity, influence, and restraint were the sharpest weapons of all. And as the plane finally took off without her, the world watching online saw more than a slap. They saw a reversal of power, a reminder that arrogance will always meet its reckoning and dignity will always rise above insult. So remember this: respect is not optional, and when you try to break someone built on resilience and power, you may just find the entire system bowing to them instead. If you believe in justice, in dignity, in stories that shake arrogance to its core, then don't just watch, subscribe now. Because next time, the story we bring might just remind you again why arrogance never wins and why dignity always takes flight.